Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Openings and intros have rarely ever failed to give us some memorable songs, awesome visuals, and get us hyped for the episode to follow. I know I am not the only person who loves to rewatch openings over and over and over in an attempt to pick out different scenes and try to guess where the plot might be headed, or guess what duels and conflicts our characters might take part in during the current arc. While overanalyzing intros can be a lot of fun, they can also be quite misleading. This video will discuss 10 times that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Openings and intros lied to us by showing scenes or depicting events that did not actually occur in the anime. I'm going to go in show order, so we will start with the original Yu-Gi-Oh! And then go on to GX, and continue so on and so forth. Timestamps for each respective show will be down below, so if you want to skip around the video to avoid spoilers for a certain show or anything like that, please feel free to do so. Also, there really aren't a high number of times something like this occurs. I was actually stuck on 9 times for a while until UZX, Crimson Avenger, and Lock-On, 2 users in the community, helped me find a 10th thing. So if you guys discover anything else that was a falsity in these openings, please let me know down below. Also, huge thanks to Lionelhead for suggesting this idea to me in the first place. Any top 10 suggestions, please leave them down below as well. Without further ado, let's begin. 10 times the Yu-Gi-Oh! Openings/intros lied to us. I hope you all enjoy. It's tough to find any for the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Since this was the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that followed its respective manga. Therefore, the chances of changing the storyline after the opening aired was slim to none. However, there are 2 instances I could find in regards to the original series. The most well-known one is Yami Yugi vs. Marek, regular Marek, on the Kaiba Corp blimp. Clearly, there are multiple falsehoods in this scene. The first being that Yugi did not end up dueling Marek on the Kaiba Corp blimp, but on the duel tower instead. Of course, that's not the main issue with this scene. The big fallacy is that regular Marek never dueled Yugi. In fact, he never dueled anyone. It was his dark self, Yami Marek, who took on Yami Yugi, Bakura, and Mai. So, while it would have been awesome to see regular Marek duel Yami Yugi, we unfortunately are only left to our own imagination as to how that duel would play out. So this was actually the 10th one that I found thanks to the help of 2 friends. In opening 3, Wild Drive, we see 2 consecutive scenes which seem to give off the impression that Yugi is dueling Joey. The first scene shows us Yugi standing on one side of the Kaiba Corp blimp, while the next shot shows us Joey standing on the opposite side of the blimp as if he is facing Yugi. Even if you believe that this scene does not subliminally depict Joey and Yugi squaring off against each other, it's still a misleading scene based on where Joey is standing. Yes, we are getting extremely analytical for this one. The only 2 times we saw Yugi and Joey take part in a duel on the blimp, they were standing on the right side of the screen, which means their backs are facing the entrance to the roof of the blimp. During this opening, we see that entrance behind Yugi, as it's supposed to be, but not behind Joey, meaning this scene in the opening shows Joey dueling on the left side of the blimp, even though he never dueled on that side. Back to the main point, if this opening is depicting a Yugi vs. Joey blimp duel, it's obviously very untrue. Yugi and Joey never dueled on screen once the entire show after this opening aired, since this was an opening that took place after the duel they had on the pier. So, yes, that one is very picky and is much, much more subliminal than most of the other ones on this list, but it still is a falsehood nonetheless. We have 2 from the next series, Yugioh GX, and the first actually happens in the very first opening, Opening 1. During this opening, we see a scene of Daichi, or Bastion in the dub, confidently posing while touting 2 elemental dragons next to him, one being a water dragon and the other being a fire dragon. This water dragon makes an appearance during the anime and is one of his strongest monsters with a whopping 2,800 attack points. However, the fire dragon was not so lucky. That's right, a seemingly ace or secondary ace monster based on this opening never makes an appearance once throughout the anime. The reason for this really isn't known, with the general theory being that a lot of Bastion's duels and plot lines were scrapped and changed in the early stages of GX for whatever reason. While we most likely never will know the real reasoning behind this fire dragon never making an appearance, we do know this. It is objectively and unfortunately the greatest falsehood any of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX openings led us to believe. This might compete with the second one on this list for the most obscure lie in an opening, but hey, coming up with a bare minimum of 10 for this list was hard. Not all of them are going to be right out in the open. This lie occurs during a scene in the 4th and final GX opening, Precious Times, Glory Days. At the very start of this opening, we see a bunch of Judai's or Jaden's cards. This is right before Truman hops in and Judai gears up to duel him. Well, not all of these cards, it turns out, are in Judai's deck per se. There is one particular card, and that is Elemental Recharge. Sure, it is an Elemental Hero support card, but this card was never used by Judai at any point in the show before or after this opening aired. This card was used on 2 different occasions by Edo, or Aster in the dub. So if you were to analyze this scene right at the start of Season 4, you would be under the impression that Judai was going to maybe acquire this card from Edo as a symbol of friendship or unity or some other Yu-Gi-Oh cliche like that. However, it obviously never happens. In fact, Judai and Edo barely have any interaction throughout Season 4. I have no idea why this card was shown in what was clearly supposed to be Judai's deck, since all the other cards are cards he has used at one point or another, but oh well, it must have just been a slip-up by the animation team, still a fitting talking point for this list. I actually could only find one instance where an opening told a different story than what was represented in the anime for Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. This occurs during the second version only of the second opening, Last Train. For all the executive meddling that 5Ds underwent, I'm stunned that there weren't more falsehoods shown in these openings. Anyway, during Opening 2 Version 2, they begin hyping up all of the Signer vs. Dark Signer duels by showing us some matchups that will occur. Aki vs. Misty, Jack vs. Carly, and Yusei vs. Kyoto. Now obviously, all of these duels took place, but it's the ambience of these scenes that are very misleading, for one duel in particular. During the Yusei Kyoto scene, we see their D-wheels ready to go, which makes sense, since they dueled each other in a riding duel. Aki and Misty, no D-wheels, since their duel was a standing duel. However, Jack and Carly had no D-wheels in sight as well, implying that their battle was going to be a standing duel too, which it wasn't. This was all the more surprising given how Carly had seemingly no prior riding abilities, so it seemed a standing duel was a guarantee. This easily could have been planned to be a standing duel at the time the opening aired, but was changed at the last minute for whatever reason. Given how much changed at the last minute during the duration of 5Ds, that seems to be a more than likely reason for why this duel was changed from a standing one to a riding one. Zexal and Arc-V account for half of this list, and there are actually 3 very noticeable fallacies that take place during the Yugioh Zexal openings. The first Zexal one happens during Opening 2, Braving. Pretty much right in the middle of this opening, we see a very quick scene of a still shot image panning towards the right. This image, as you can see on screen, clearly depicts Yuma and Astral dueling V or Quentin in the dub. This foreshadowed duel never takes place during Yugioh Zexal, as ironically V is the only one out of the entire Arclight family that Yuma never dueled. Yuma dueled 3, or Trey, twice, once in a one-on-one and the other in a tag duel with Kaido. He dueled 4, or Quattro, in that same tag duel we just mentioned, and he dueled Tron during the finals of the World Duel Carnival. Based on this opening, it is not outlandish to think that there were plans to have Yuma duel V at one point, but these plans were most likely scrapped for some reason or another. It would have been awesome to see a Yuma vs V duel, since again, that was the only Arclight he never went up against, but alas, a duel that at one time seemed guaranteed thanks to the opening is just urban legend now. The next 2 on this list both occur during the same opening, Opening 3, Soul Drive, and actually occur seconds apart from each other. The first one happens just before the 1 minute mark. Yuma and Astral transform into Zale, and are immediately shown on the Magma duel field, seemingly dueling someone in Zale form. In case you forgot, the way the World Duel Carnival worked is everyone raced to a certain special themed duel field, and would face the corresponding opponent that also went to that field, on that field. Therefore, this opening clearly depicts Yuma going to the Magma field, becoming one with Astral, and facing someone in a duel. The only issue with this is Yuma didn't duel in the Magma field. The 2 that faced off at the Magma field was Shark and 4, while Yuma faced Gauche or Nistro in the dub at the Canyon field. Could this have been another change in plans during the World Duel Carnival? Maybe, but the next one on this list will certainly have you debating on what the original plans for this tournament may have been, as they certainly do not follow what was depicted in the third opening. One of the most interesting lies that was shown to us by an opening is definitely this next one. In Zexal Opening 3, a little after we see Yuma and Zexal form on the Magma field, we see a very interesting matchup that did not really happen. We see Kaido and Yuma, enraged, dueling each other in the Sphere field, a field that was only present during the finals of the World Duel Carnival. So the real question is, why did the opening depict this duel? Clearly, the visuals from this opening hint at a Yuma vs Kaido finals instead of a Yuma vs Tron finals, so was that the original plan? It also is important to note that yes, these two do end up dueling each other a few episodes after the finals, but Yuma never goes into Zexal form against Kaido during that duel, which he was depicted doing in the opening. It is not far-fetched at all to think that the original plans were to have Kaido and Yuma duel in the finals, but the writers decided to shake it up so that Yuma wouldn't beat Kaido, since in the actual duel that took place between these two, Kaido won. Had these two versed in the finals, Yuma would have most likely had to defeat Kaido, which maybe the writing team didn't want to have happen. It's just a thought, but this is definitely one of the falser and more mind-boggling things an opening has led us to believe, especially in hindsight. Moving on to our last series, Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc-V, there were two pretty obvious times the openings tricked us. Starting with the second opening, Burn, we see a scene that appears to hint at a possible Akiba Reiji vs. Yuto duel. Reiji attacks with one of his DDD monsters, and the dragon who receives that attack is Dark Rebellion, the ace monster of Yuto, who quickly appears in the scene, seemingly gearing up for a fight. Obviously, the thought of a Reiji Yuto duel is mouthwatering, but unfortunately, the premonition never came true. Of course, Yuto did kind of duel within Yuya when they versed Reiji after the Miami Championships, but that hardly counts. A scene like this really makes you wonder if the plan was to keep Yuto alive for more than 37 episodes, especially since this opening depicted him dueling against one of the most intense characters in Arc-V, and then 7 episodes after this opening began, he was dead. Unfortunately, this duel just wasn't meant to be, and it is definitely one of the more notable fallacies depicted by an Arc-V opening. Perhaps more thought-provoking than that last one, Opening 3, Unleash, depicts another duel that never ended up happening in the anime. At the end of the opening, right before we see a close-up of Jack Atlas's face, we see two dragons battling each other while flying up a building. The two dragons are respectively owned by Yuya and Yugioh, two of the 4 U-Boy counterparts. Right after we see Jack's face, we even see a scene of Yuya and Yugioh yelling, presumably at each other, as their dragons continue to spar. This hyped up so many of us as it seemed inevitable that we would be getting to witness a Yuya vs. Yugioh duel at some point during the Friendship Cup. However, this was another duel that was just not meant to be. Yugioh was the only U-Boy that Yuya did not end up dueling, as he versed Yuri towards the end of the show, and versed Yuto in a 2-on-1 duel alongside Sora. Yuya was also the only U-Boy that Yugioh never dueled, as he lost to Yuri, and was ultimately the one who defeated and killed Yuto. This duel would have been a real treat to see, but these scenes not coming true in the anime definitely were a slap in the face to many of us, especially those of us, like myself, who love to overanalyze. Well guys, that about wraps it up. I really hope you enjoyed 10 times the Yu-Gi-Oh! Openings lied to us. Cannot wait to talk to all of you down below, and if there are any instances you think I missed, please let me know that down below as well. I found this to be a real interesting topic, since it's kind of awesome to think about all the different storylines we might have seen play out had all of these scenes come true. Are these changes a sign of executive meddling? Were they trying to throw the viewer off on purpose? Who really knows, but it's something that I personally find extremely, extremely interesting. Be sure to check out my channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime content. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you as always so much for the support, and I will see you all next time. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Let's die again.